Robert Louis Stevenson, the guy that wrote Treasure Island, had a great line in one of his other books. He says, "Sooner or later, we all sit down to a banquet of consequences." Oh boy, I just read you a couple consequences. It could be in our personal lives. It obviously is in corporate America. It's what caused the recession with Wall Street and Goldman Sachs and Lehman Brothers and Countrywide and all those other issues because trust has to revolve around what I call the 3 R's: respect for yourself, respect for others, and taking responsibility for your actions. Respect others, respect yourself, take responsibility for your actions. Now, I try to teach that to my oldest two are daughters, and when they decided to go off to college, and they're 3 years apart, I had the same rule for both of them. Because we went to different schools and we looked, and I said, okay, here's the rule. I only pay for 4 years. I don't care how long it takes you to get out. I'm only paying for 4. Number 2, you must be bilingual or I'm not paying for college. And at different times, each of them said, well, why do you have these rules? Because I want you out. Hot tubs coming in your room, pool table in yours, move. I wanted to keep them focused. The other rule that I had was C's and above I pay for, D's and below I take out of your savings account. Have a great fall. And when they both got home, they were in college at the same time, and one was a freshman, one was a junior. They got home at the same time for Christmas break, and they both had their report cards, and they said, look! And I looked at them, both of them, straight C's. We got straight C's. I was the proud father of 2 average college students. And their point was they did just enough so they wouldn't have to pay. So I ended up with a bilingual medical social worker and a bilingual communication arts specialist. I was hoping for a heart surgeon, lawyer, et cetera. And they all got jobs within 3 weeks of graduating from college. Not because of their major, because of them being what? Bilingual. And they moved out in 3 weeks. Then my wife and I sold a house, didn't tell them where we lived. We were instantly rich, Just wanted to teach them about, respect and being accountable and keeping this all in mind for the 4 years. Now, when we look at trust and transparency, and transparency is a big term today in corporate America, big term. There's 2 types of ethics. So you can gauge your institutions by what I'm going to share with you now. One form of ethics is negative ethics, and negative ethics focuses on what not to do. So if your employee handbook runs like this, no employee shall, no employee shall, no employee shall, no employee, you got yourself a negative ethics culture, which means you in your jobs have to make sure people are doing the right thing because they only know what not to do. The creative person will look at that code and think, now I know what I can't do, everything else must be okay. And then when they get caught, they say what? Wasn't in the handbook. I didn't know. Is ignorance bliss? Yes or no? Not on what we do as I teach, and you administrators of universities and colleges. No! Ignorance is not bliss. But it's the easiest form of ethics to preach. But if you really wanted to cover all the possible do-nots, you'd have a handbook 400,000 pages. And who'd read it? It is ethics, but it's negative. The goal is positive ethics. And positive ethics promotes a good, which means everybody is responsible for their choices, where negative ethics, I'm not responsible because I didn't know. And you see how that changes the concept of leadership. If it's positive ethics, you are now coach, mentor, cheerleader. If you push negative ethics, you're judge, jury, executioner. Now, I'll give you an example. Have you ever stayed at a Ritz-Carlton on vacation? Or, I don't either unless I'm hired to go there. But Ritz-Carlton employees have to have this is called a Ritz-Carlton Basics card, and here's their mantra. We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Now let me ask you this, colleagues. Is this not true? The more positive one's self-esteem is, the more ethical people are. The lower one's self-esteem is, the less ethical people are. Okay? So, we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. So a housekeeper is a lady and a bellman is a gentleman. Tell me what's happened to their self-esteem, up or down? Up. They have to memorize these 20 before they're allowed to interact with you. Now I'll just give you a couple. All employees will know the needs of their internal and external customers so that we may deliver the products and services they expect. See how it's stated? Here's number 8. Any employee who receives a customer complaint owns it. Whoa! So you don't send me to Brunhilde, who's the floor supervisor, you fix it. Then I learned this personally. Escort guests rather than pointing out directions to another area of the hotel. Now, as you know, the airline industry has had a stellar record of being on time for the last 30 years. And so I was delayed going into West Palm Beach. I got to the Ritz-Carlton at 1 o'clock in the morning and my bladder overfloweth. I went to the bellman. Quick, men's room. He goes, sir, I'll take you. I had heard of Ritz-Carlton service. I wanted to see how far this was going to go. And so he walked me down the hall. He said, sir, the men's room's right there. I said, now you're not going in with me, are you? He said, sir, you're very funny. Our service stops at the door. And I'm thinking, if you're so concerned about my bladder, 1 o'clock in the morning, imagine what the rooms are like and the amenities and the towels and the robes. And how's Ritz-Carlton doing even in this economy? Fine. 2 weeks later, I was in Atlanta, went to the Ritz-Carlton, trainee behind the desk, badge. I said, do you have your Ritz-Carlton Basics card on you? She pulls it out of her jacket like this. I said, what's number 8? She says, any employee who receives a customer complaint owns the complaint. A trainee knew it. You see the culture? You see the environment of a more positively stated, everybody's accountable for their behavior, they're in charge, it relieves the leaders of being watchdog, judge, jury, and more of an empower and mentor. Less than 10% of corporations preach positive ethics. So I hope I live long enough to get to the other 90 and start moving this corporate area in a different field. Positive ethics needs to be the goal.